Joining me now for a look at the equity scene is Makwe Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers. Makwe, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. So trade kicking the week off on a bit of a slow note with, US markets and UK markets closed. But looking at US futures in particular, we are seeing those markets in the green, European stocks also in the green today. And, there's been some reprieve coming through when you look at those EU-US trade negotiations. Just your analysis of trade so far this week. We also have that, MPC decision coming up for us here at home.
Yeah, and it's a more of a question of we getting this whole thing that is reinforced, that is how Donald Trump is playing. Remember what he did on Friday, then Sunday he backtracked, and then the markets saw a bit of a relief from that. And the US and the European markets are benefiting from that. I mean, especially the UK markets, given that yesterday they were closed. We had to react to that yesterday. But I think the biggest thing as well is this issue about the bonds, which are rallying, and that's after the Japanese finance minister indicated that they're looking into stabilizing their market. That's after having the yields going up. So people are thinking that probably then demand might have to start picking up when it comes to other treasury, to the bonds market, because the yields that side might be lower and not be that attractive. And hence we also see the likes of the US dollar rebounding. I mean, to think that so far this year, the US dollar has been down almost 7% compared to its peers, but the long and short is that we will continue to dance to the tune of Donald Trump. And then as well, we've got this issue that we are seeing that this sweeping tax cuts and also spending in the US, that bill is going through the Congress. So that's another thing that we'll continue to watch.
And I was about to mention that dollar weakness that we are seeing coming through, that benefiting us here at home with the rand trading at around 17.89. We also saw the euro making gains today. I think it's at a record high as well today. But let's leave that and move over to some company results. Sticking in Europe on the back of what we've seen from Tesla, Makwe, they're really facing a tough time. The last few quarters, we have seen some weakness coming through. And this, of course, on the back of tough competition, as well as just reputational damage following Musk's involvement in American politics. This time around, the numbers we've seen are out of Europe, and we are seeing sales on that front are halving in April. What have you made of those numbers?
I didn't get that. Are you talking about the Zeta numbers?
They had sales numbers, so vehicle sales numbers out of Europe.
Oh, yes. And I think it is more a question of people are saying, listen, we've got a way to get back to you. And we've been saying that anyway, before this issue of him getting involved, with the, Trump's administration, they've always been an issue when it comes to their sales, not doing that great, the recalling of some of the vehicles. But now it's a question of people saying, you are involved, you are retaliating, and to the extent that we've been seeing banning cars at some point. But I don't think it's all because of the reflection of what is happening now.
Yeah.
Even before, if you follow tests, it has not been doing that great when it comes to their sales.
All right, let's move over to some local company news. Pepco out with results today, growth coming through in terms of earnings. Interestingly, we are seeing the group really doing well in that fintech side of the business. I think growth up 85% on that front. Just your analysis on those numbers.
Generally, the guys continue to do well because remember, they even managed to get market share. Every baby clothes that you buy, you'll find that out of 4, 3 is coming from Pepco, stuff like that. So they continue to dominate. And the question here is, they've got the products available. They've got this issue that people manage to benefit from the two-pot system. Load shedding as well contributed, and generally the cost management that the guys managed to implement. So I think overall the guys continue to do well.
Another group where we are seeing growth is Zeda. This despite, tough economic conditions. The group has pointed to resilience in its leasing subscription units, and markets seem to be liking the numbers. I see that share price up close to 4% this afternoon.
Yeah, revenue was down 1.6%, but we've seen profits as headline earnings per share up just around 11%, the dividends up almost 10%. And I think is the question of the diversification of the strategy, as much as we know that the vehicle sales, the leasing, I mean, the car rental, traditional ones have been under pressure, but the great Africa strategy is paying off. The leasing, the subscription, at least they're managing to benefit from that. And now what's important is that we know that companies have been dealing their investment decisions, the replacements of the fleet, but I think they managed to benefit from that diversification of their business strategy.
All right, let's move over to Raynet. They've also seen a rise in the net asset value, up 11.8%. This, of course, on the back of, a rise of in value, rather, in Pension Corp, as well as gains from the sale of British American Tobacco shares. And that's, of course, boosting Raynet. They're also sitting with a lot of cash on their hands, Makwe.
I think they're in a very good position, and that, like the likes of the Warren Buffett of this world, that when opportunities start presenting themselves, the guys will be able to have cash to deploy. But the worrisome thing is that we know they've been benefiting mainly from the issue of the British American tobacco,
Yeah.
and as we know, they continue to decrease their stake there. Well, now what's going to happen going forward when it comes to the dividend flow that they used to enjoy from British American Tobacco, because their shareholding will be less this time around.
And moving over to news out of the mining sector, Harmony Gold has just announced that, they'll be increasing their exposure in copper, as well as expanding their global footprint. The miner said to acquire Mac Copper. What have you made of that acquisition? We are seeing quite a few of these gold counters really expanding. I think we saw a deal from Goldfields a few weeks ago.
We know that copper, just like the likes of lithium, those are the commodities of the future. They're very friendly to the environment, and definitely we've seen the other big boys also having an exposure to that. My question continues to be, are they not overpaying? Are not they being now at a high levels? And ordinarily, if somebody is prepared to sell you something, probably they think that maybe this is the right time to get out of that. And I just
Yeah.
hope, for the sake of shareholders back home here, that the guys are not overpaying. We are talking almost 18 billion rand. So,
Interesting. Makwe, before I let you go, where are you seeing opportunity at the moment? What's your stock pick?
my stock pick going to be that I think one has to buy the S&P 500. We have to go long on that, and because of the expected tax cuts, and also the fact that we expect spending to start to increase in the US. Hopefully, that will start benefiting the US economy and then companies thereof.
All right, Makwe, thanks so much for your time and sharing your insights this afternoon. That was Makwe Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers.